At exactly 10:50 a.m. on the 13th of June 2025, radar screens across Poland lit up like a Christmas tree. A Russian Il-20M spy plane had crossed the invisible line, not just skimming the border. This one was inside Polish airspace, 2 full kilometers deep. Within seconds, the red alert hits the NATO Air Command. Scramble orders are issued. Engines roar to life. 2 British Typhoon fighter jets stationed under NATO's air policing mission are airborne within minutes. This isn't another patrol. This is a direct response. The Il-20 is flying low and slow over the Baltic Sea, pretending like nothing happened. No communication, no response to radio hails, just steady, silent flight. Let's be clear here. This was not a navigational error. The Il-20 doesn't get lost. It is packed with surveillance gear, radar, signal sniffers, and high-resolution cameras. Its job is to gather intelligence. And this time, it chose to dip straight into NATO territory. From Warsaw to Brussels, everyone's watching. Inside the RAF cockpits, adrenaline is running high. They're closing in fast. They know the rules: intercept, identify, and escort. But don't provoke. Still, all it takes is one wrong move, and this routine mission becomes international headlines. One British pilot radios in. Visual on target, no response. Still inbound. Seconds later, the Il-20 makes a move, not the one they expected. What happens next turns a simple intercept into something way more complicated. Just days before this incident on May 27th, and again on the 5th of June, British Typhoons were scrambled for the exact same reason. Russian surveillance planes creeping too close to Polish skies. But this time, it wasn't too close. It was inside. The aircraft involved. The Il-20M isn't your average Russian military plane. NATO calls it Coot-A. It is essentially a flying ear designed to listen, scan, and record everything from troop movements to radar frequencies. And it doesn't just loiter around for fun. It collects data. Valuable data. Where did it come from? Likely Kaliningrad, a small but heavily fortified chunk of Russian territory sandwiched between Poland and Lithuania. Kaliningrad is like Moscow's spy nest on the Baltic, crammed with missiles, radar outposts, and intelligence aircraft. For NATO, especially Poland, this is nothing new. But today's breach was deeper, bolder, and more dangerous. The skies over Eastern Europe have been anything but quiet since Russia's invasion of Ukraine in 2022. NATO boosted patrols, forward-deployed fighter jets, and hardened its radar coverage. This means that every time a Russian aircraft takes off from Kaliningrad, somebody's watching, and more often than not, somebody is chasing. The question isn't if these flights will happen again. It is when one of them won't back off, because this time the Il-20 kept flying deeper and deeper, ignoring calls. The RAF had no idea if it was armed bait or a probe for something bigger. And yet the orders were clear. Identify, shadow, escort out. Simple in theory. But theory doesn't always survive contact with Russian airspace violations. At 10:57 a.m., 2 RAF Typhoons sliced through the Polish sky. They're flying out of Malbork Air Base, just minutes from the Baltic Sea, and even fewer from trouble. These jets aren't sightseeing. They're on QR quick reaction alert. And right now, that reaction is locked onto a Russian spy plane. That is way too far from home. Built off the Il-18 airframe, it is modified for SIGINT and ELINT missions, signal and electronic intelligence. Its job is to eavesdrop on everything. Communications, radar signatures, air defense signals, you name it. It is not fast, but it is persistent. It can loiter for hours along borders sucking up data. Its usual tactic: fly just outside of NATO airspace and pretend it is minding its own business until it suddenly isn't. Now, switch views. The Eurofighter Typhoon is the RAF's air superiority fighter. Fast, deadly, and designed for both speed and precision. Twin engines, top speed Mach 2, capable of climbing to 55,000 feet in minutes. But this mission isn't about showing off. It is about control. These Typhoons are equipped with Pirate infrared search and track systems and the Captor radar, allowing them to lock onto targets without even turning on their own radar if they choose. It is stealthy, smart, and fast. But here is the catch. They're not here to fire. Under NATO's air policing rules, engagement is the absolute last resort. So, the intercept works like this. Radar first picks up the intruder. Ground command issues a scramble order. Fighters take off and intercept visually. They confirm identity, monitor behavior, and escort if needed. It is a chess game at 20,000 feet, and every player knows their pieces. The Il-20 might look outdated, but it plays a dangerous game. Testing response times, probing radar strength, collecting NATO patterns. Think of it as Moscow's flying thermometer, taking NATO's temperature one mission at a time. What is the RAF's job here? Well, it is to keep calm, fly smart, and send a message. We see you. Don't push it. It is not glamorous. It is not Top Gun. It is real-world military pressure balancing on the edge of a no-fly incident, and it happens more often than most people realize. This time, the gear worked, the pilots performed, and the rules held firm. But what happens when that Il-20 doesn't turn around? When it is not an old surveillance plane, but something faster or armed? That is where this calm, cold chess match could become something else entirely. For nearly 10 minutes, the Il-20 held its course. Still, no response. Still inside Polish airspace, soaking up everything it could. Radar signals, radar sweeps, even the flight patterns of the intercepting Typhoons. And then it turned. No warning, no contact. Just a wide-controlled bank northward, right back towards international airspace. It wasn't panic, it wasn't sloppy, it was time. Exactly 2 kilometers in. Exactly when NATO's reaction was fully deployed. Almost like someone in Kaliningrad was watching the whole thing in real time, checking a box. Yes, NATO's response time is 6 minutes, but this twist doesn't end there. As the Il-20 exits Polish airspace, it doesn't head straight home. Instead, it begins a slow loop, just outside NATO territory, hovering near the edge. Legally, it is now in international airspace. Tactically, it is still in Poland's face. The RAF jets stay with it though, now shadowing rather than intercepting. There is no radio chatter, there is no sudden moves, just quiet pressure at high altitude. Back at NATO Air Command, analysts are already logging every second of this encounter. The Il-20's route, how long it stayed, how close it came to key radar station. To the untrained eye, this was just a brief border incident that ended peacefully. But to military eyes, this was a calibrated test. It was a move much bigger in strategy. Because here is the thing, these Russian flybys don't happen alone. They're often paired with cyber probing, satellite adjustments, or naval activity. It is coordinated, layered pressure. Today's twist wasn't just the incursion, it was the restraint, the quiet withdrawal. Because when you test an enemy, sometimes the most valuable intel comes from not what they say, but how fast they move, how close they get, and how long they hold the line. This time the Il-20 turned back on its own. Next time that turn might come a little later or not at all. What happened over Poland wasn't an isolated event. It is part of a pattern, and it is one that has been tightening since 2022. Russian aircraft from Kaliningrad, like the Il-20, frequently fly along the edges of NATO airspace. Sometimes they cut it pretty close. Sometimes they cross the line, but it is never random. These flights are strategic. They're probes. Everyone tests NATO's response time, the air defense coverage, radio protocol, and even pilot behavior. It is like shaking the fence to see where it rattles and how fast the guard dogs bark. This tactic isn't new, but it is escalating. Since the full-scale invasion of Ukraine, NATO has increased its eastern presence dramatically. F-35s in Romania, Patriots in Slovakia, Typhoons in Poland. The message is clear. We're watching, and Russia, well, they're watching back. Every time an Il-20 flies too close, it is building a library of NATO's playbook. Which radar comes online first? How fast do the fighters scramble? Do they engage? Or do they just follow? It is a psychological operation with wings, and the risk, miscalculation. All it takes is one pilot misreading a maneuver, an overzealous radar operator, one misinterpreted turn. That is when what starts as a routine intercept becomes an international emergency. Even Poland's military said it plainly. This was a provocative action designed to test NATO's readiness. And they're right. This wasn't an accident, it was a signal. But NATO doesn't just sit back. These intercepts send messages in return. We're ready? We'll meet you at the line, and we won't blink first. Behind the scenes, these missions feed directly into NATO's defense planning. Every intercepted aircraft gets analyzed, every route gets logged, every deviation gets studied. It is not glamorous, but it is critical, because the real battle right now isn't missiles, it is data, information about how the other side reacts, defends, and maneuvers. It is a silent war in the skies fought with sensors and patience. Today, the Il-20 left quietly. But the game isn't over, it is just getting smarter. When the Il-20 finally turned back, the RAF Typhoons peeled off after confirming it had cleared Polish airspace. Mission complete on paper, but the real work starts now. NATO's Allied Air Command immediately begins its post-incident analysis. Every radar log, every second of radio silence, every flight pattern reviewed. Poland shares its tracking data. The RAF submits cockpit logs. The Baltic states request briefings. And in Brussels, the NATO Security Council doesn't just file it away, they adjust their protocols. Because, as we now know, this wasn't just another intercept, it was a test. The Polish military knows it, and in a follow-up statement, they emphasize that readiness and coordination worked as intended, but warned that continued provocations require continued vigilance. Translation: the Il-20 might be back or something faster or something more aggressive. As for the RAF pilots, while they're grounded and debriefed, standard protocol after any intercept, then it is back to standby. Another scramble could come tomorrow or tonight. And the bigger picture here? Well, it is NATO reinforcing its eastern flank yet again. More drones, more radar coverage, and more joint training missions, especially with Poland and the Baltic states. Because the Il-20 didn't just violate airspace, it reminded everyone that there are no quiet skies anymore. Not over Poland, not over the Baltics, and not with Kaliningrad sitting next door like a loaded gun. This time, no shots were fired, but that is not guaranteed next time. And in a world full of armed aircraft and silent radios, next time is the scariest phrase of all. So, what do we take from all of this? A slow-moving Russian spy plane slipped 2 kilometers into NATO airspace and left without a fight. But it left with something even more valuable. A glimpse at how NATO responds. It wasn't an accident. It was a message, and the response, calm, controlled, precise. But how many more of these tests can NATO handle before someone crosses the line they can't step back from? Do you think these Russian flights are just intelligence gathering? Or are they pushing for something more dangerous? If you want to go a step further and support this channel directly, join the fleet. You'll get loyalty badges, priority responses, and help us bring more true maritime stories to the surface. Click join on our channel page and get on board. Thanks for watching, and remember, the next time a Russian spy plane crosses the line, NATO won't just be watching, they'll be flying.